Good morning, Heber Valley. Can you hear me? I can't hear me. It's always, I don't know if you can hear me or not. Hello, hello? Well, I can hear you through the speakers. It's always a guessing game. Well, welcome to the show today. We've got plenty of things to talk about. Not a ton of stuff going on locally, but we'll get into some things and see what we can drum up. We got a great show. Got a great guest. Rob Sorensen of Sorensen Insurance is going to be joining us. Help us understand a little bit better what's going on. The ins and outs of home and auto insurance. We call it in the industry, we call it P&C, which stands for property and casualty. It kind of encompasses all of the liability type insurance and coverage on hard assets. So he's going to kind of give us some pointers and just kind of some secrets of the industry and what to look for and what not to get wrapped up in and things like that. So that's going to be great. And he's also a very accomplished violinist and things, so he might play a little bit of music for us. Just want to welcome you to the show. This is Mornings with Mike. My name is Mike Hewlett. And our show, of course, is, as always, is brought to you by my company, Hewlett Life and Health Insurance. Unbeatable prices, service, and expertise. You will not find a better deal. The time is 9:03. It is June 9th, Monday, June 9th, 2014. It's a beautiful, beautiful day outside. The weather, I just pulled it up here, looks like it's going to be a little bit iffy this week. High of 83 and sunny today, so it's going to be a beautiful day today. Pretty warm. Tuesday, though, tomorrow, it doesn't get cold, but we've got some thunderstorms coming in. So 30% chance of rain. Then Wednesday, Thursday, it is going to be partly cloudy, and we'll stay at the around the low 80s. And then, Thursday it jumps way up to a high of 88, so that's going to be a little bit of a scorcher at this time of year. And then Friday we're back down to 83 and sunny. So looks like pretty decent weather throughout the week, so we should have a good week here. Hopefully you had a wonderful weekend. We had all kinds of stuff going on. The traffic was unbelievable between the high school rodeo and the high school rodeo finals, the Dirty Dash, and it seemed like there were a number of different things going on. So it was a wild weekend. We are fast becoming one of those destination places where it's like there are these certain places. I don't know if you've ever been to Jackson Hole during the summer. There's like 1 million people in Jackson Hole, and then as soon as the first hint of cold shows up, everybody leaves, and you go there in like January, and there's like 50 people there. That's what it's starting to feel like a little bit here. You show up in the summer, and there's just a bazillion people. But of course, with the ice castle deal there in Midway this last winter, that started to bring in the people all through the winter as well. So it's just becoming a bustling metropolis up here, which is hard to get used to if you grew up here. Especially, I mean, I'm only 34 years old. I mean, I can't even imagine what it's like for somebody who's in their 50s or 60s or 70s or whatever. It's pretty hard to believe how busy it is, but it's good. I mean, there's good things and bad things, I guess. All right, so just get through some of the main stuff going on. don't know if I don't know if you've heard about this. This is just horrible and bizarre and troubling and all kinds of wrong. But last week, um, two, I believe they were like 12 years old, two girls decided, or this might have been 2 weeks ago. Anyway, two 12-year-old girls decide that they want to please this fictional character called Slender Man. And they believe that in order to do that, the best way for them to do that is to go ahead and lure their other 12-year-old friend out into the woods and stab her to death. And so they proceeded to do that, and luckily, thankfully, miraculously, the girl survived the ordeal after being stabbed repeatedly by these two girls. I believe a passerby on a bicycle or a motorcycle or something noticed what was going on and interrupted them, and they fled, and the victim was saved. Now these two girls are facing, obviously, some very, very serious charges, and they are going to be charged as adults for their crime. My goodness, you really, 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 really have to pay attention to what your kids are doing online. When I was young, and I'm sure this probably goes for most people, you know, there were always opportunities to get into bad things if you sought that out, but it was difficult. I mean, you had to really look for it. I mean, you had to really seek out bad things. You know, if someone wanted to get into pornography, they had to seek it out. You know, they had to go to a place that sold it. You know, if you wanted to get into disturbed reading and stuff like that, you'd have to track down somebody who was printing a pamphlet or something like that. I mean, there's always been bad things. There's always been evil, but you really had to seek it out before. Now it's just presented to you, and you know, in a lot of ways pushed on you. You know, there's this fictional character called Slender Man that somebody made up on the internet, and a bunch of people really started to enjoy it, and it was about this mysterious guy that killed children or something, and a bunch of people were really into it, and they were writing fan fiction and writing all of these different stories about it, and these just children, 12-year-old girls, got wrapped up in it. And you know, it actually reminds me quite a bit of when I was young. I'll never forget, there was an incident where some kids went on a shooting rampage, and said that they had watched all the Rambo movies, and they had really wanted to be like Rambo, and my mom made me promise I would never watch another Rambo movie. And I'm pretty sure I've held true to that. But you know, and there were a few instances here and there of people getting too wrapped up in Dungeons and Dragons and killing and maiming people based on the game and things like that. So you just have to really pay attention to what your kids are doing and what they're reading and what they're paying attention to. And because there is just some incredible evil out there, and if you're not paying attention, it can wrap them up pretty quickly. And this is just a tragic example of that going bad. Looks like it happened in Wisconsin. So anyway, be interesting to follow that and see if they can figure out what these girls were what was going on in their heads, because certainly not healthy. On a lighter note, the Utah Jazz finally decided on a coach to lead the team. It'll be the Utah Jazz's 8th head coach in the history of the franchise, and his name is Quinn Snyder. He was up until now an assistant coach of the Atlanta Hawks. Has a pretty long history, and has seen some pretty great success. He played at Duke University, then coached at Duke University under Mike Krzyzewski. Had opportunities to coach in Russia, to coach the LA Lakers. A lot of good experience there, and so hopefully he's the right guy for the job. It seems like they took plenty of time figuring out what they were going to do there, and so hopefully Quinn Snyder's the guy. Hopefully he'll grow to be a household name, and people will, hopefully he'll hold up that great tradition of Utah Jazz coaches. We've had a couple of real great coaches here, and we've been pretty fortunate to have them. They've been household names, not just here, but a lot of times across the country. Everybody knows who Jerry Sloan is. In his time, everybody knew who Frank Layden was. So hopefully we've got another one of those great coaches that comes in and turns the franchise around and does some great things with it. So that's it'll be interesting to watch and see what happens there. Rafael Nadal won his ninth French Open, beating Novak Djokovic, if I'm saying that right, hopefully. So he is fast becoming one of the all-time greats. He now has 14 major championships under his belt. Nadal does, and so if you're a big tennis person, that's a lot of fun to watch. California Chrome, the Triple Crown hopeful in the world of horse racing, had won the first two major events, the Kentucky Derby and the Preakness, and came into this last race like many horses have done with those first two wins under their belt, hoping for a miracle third win and their place in history as one of the all-time greats, and unfortunately came up a little bit short. It's pretty interesting. I'm not a big horse racing person. It's not like I don't gamble on the events or anything like that. But it's been pretty interesting to pay attention. I was lucky enough to catch the Preakness race just sort of randomly and watch that happen and saw him win, and so I was like, okay, that's really cool. So when the Belmont Stakes came up this Saturday, I made sure I ran in from doing yard work to catch that, because it only lasts for about a minute. But ran and watched that for a minute or two, and you knew almost from the outset that he wasn't going to get there. There were a bunch of horses ahead of him, and he got kind of squoze into a squeezed. I don't know if that's squoze. Anyway, got stuck in the middle of the pack and just ended up having to try to go around the outside to get to the front, and just didn't have enough in him. And then of course the owner afterwards, who had purchased the horse for $15,000, and it's hard to imagine purchasing a horse for $15,000, but these champions end up going for millions and millions, so it's a pretty good deal for this guy. But there was initial calm and just basic disappointment on his face, and then they interviewed him, and he was just just livid that the way these horse races work is they have these 3 major horse races, and then they, of course, have a lot of other horse races as well throughout the year. But these 3 horse races happen in 5 weeks, and you don't have to race in one to qualify for another. And I mean, I know there are obviously qualifications that you have to get into any of the races, but they're not all bunched together as the same organization or anything. So you can run in the Kentucky Derby if you want, or you can run in the Preakness, and you don't have to run in all of them. So this California Chrome ran in the first 2 and won, and then in this 3rd race, a bunch of horses that hadn't run in any of these races, who hadn't overexerted themselves the way California Chrome had, were entered into this Belmont Stakes and had fresh legs, so to speak, and outran him. And the owner was just livid that was the case, and everybody was calculated to take him down and didn't want him to succeed, and that's probably the case, and that's kind of how it's always been done, and maybe they want to change it, and I don't know what the solution is there, but either way, it was entertaining for about a minute, and that was about it. But it'll be, hopefully we'll get to see that one of these days. The last time it happened, the last time a horse won the Triple Crown was back in the 1970s. So it's been a while. I don't know if you've seen this, but this is pretty important, and hopefully if you have one of these cars, you've gotten it resolved. GM, General Motors, is in just a firestorm of controversy, and I have to imagine that it'll be difficult for their company to survive if the information gets out there well enough. But clear back in 2004, General Motors had an ignition switch on the steering column of the Chevy Cobalt and other small cars, and it was so poorly designed that it would easily slip out of the run position and cause engines to stall. And Chevy knew about the problem and never did anything about it. And it's now been blamed for a number of accidents and fatalities. I'm trying to see here what the actual number is, but it's significant. I mean, it's something like 50-something accidents, and oh yeah, I heard, yeah, the defective switches caused over 50 crashes and at least 13 deaths. And so now all of this information is coming out, and people are finding out about it, and they're the CEO of the company, who wasn't the CEO at the time of the problems, but she's the CEO now. They're trying to explain it, and they're trying to say sorry and things like that. But my heavens, I mean, there's all this evidence that's starting to come out about who knew and who did what, and they fired a bunch of people. But my goodness, I don't know what they're going to do there. I mean, that is just absolutely horrible. That would certainly make me think twice about buying a General Motors vehicle. I mean, you find out about a problem, you let everybody know about it immediately, and you fix the problem. And I mean, that's the way it's been done. That's the way it's supposed to be done. Hopefully they don't let something like that ever happen again. If you follow television at all, if you've ever seen the television show 30 Rock or Saturday Night Live in the mid-2000s, the actor Tracy Morgan was in a near-fatal car accident. His tour bus or limo bus or whatever they call them was in a very major accident over the weekend, and he's in the ICU in critical condition. So that should be, hopefully he gets out of that. He's got a number of broken bones and things, and hopefully he survives that. That's never good. World Cup starts this week, so it's our every 4 years we get to tune in and watch the world's best soccer players participate in the World Cup, and we have three members of the RSL Real Salt Lake team in the World Cup. Two of them are on the U.S. team, and so that should be fun to watch. The first match is is this Thursday, but I believe the U.S. does not play their first match until I think something like the 16th or 17th or something. So, but that should be fun to watch and pay attention to. It's taking place, of course, in Brazil, and there's been a lot of controversy about how poorly they're prepared, and their main stadium where all the main events are taking place is not finished and will not be finished for the opening. So anyway, should be fun to watch that happen. So all right, well, looks like our guest Rob Sorensen has made his way in here. So we'll welcome him in. Okay, Rob, check that and make sure it's working there. There you are.
All right. Hey, Mike.
How you doing, Rob?
Good morning. Doing well.
Thanks so much for joining us. We really appreciate it. How are things going today?
Hey, I can't complain for a Monday. That's for sure.
Yeah, Mondays are what they are, huh? It's time to get back to work and back into the thick of things. Well, we really want to thank you for joining us today. So Rob Sorensen again runs Sorensen Insurance here in Heber. He's an independent home and auto agent, and has been here for. You've been running for what?
About 11 years.
About 11 years now.
Going now.
That's great. That's awesome. So become kind of a fixture in the community. The office is right there on the corner of First South and Main in the Main Street Plaza.
Yep, just kitty corner from the Avon.
Right.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about your history and how you got into the insurance business, why you got into the insurance business, and just kind of how that all happened.
Well, I'll tell you what. I'll make you a deal. I'll make your listeners a deal. I know that insurance is probably not the most glorious topic to talk about.
Oh,
so
come on. My listeners love it. It's the only thing they ever want to hear.
I'll try to make this interesting, but on top of that, I've brought my fiddle today, so maybe what we'll do is we'll take a few questions, and then we'll play a few tunes. How does that sound?
That sounds good.
Wake your listeners up, you know?
If they're not up by now. Uh-oh.
Well, about 2002, I came into the Valley as a young man, about 22 years old. And I decided at that time that I wanted to get into the insurance business. And so I went down over, actually it was Copy, if you remember that place.
Oh, of course.
Mike Ho ran that place a while back. He let me sublease a little corner from him in that office.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And so I just started out and went to the DI, bought myself a $20 desk, and I went to Totally Awesome Computers. I got myself a computer back in the day.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hopefully it was totally awesome.
It was totally awesome. And, of course, had no money at the time, so I picked up about 25 violin students in the Valley, and that's how I made my living, really, for the first 5 years. I taught early mornings in Copy store, and then I'd go out and actually go door to door for years and just try to get people to give me the opportunity to give them a quote. We represent Bearer for Mutual and Auto Owners and Mutual of Enumclaw and a few other competitive preferred providers. And so when clients qualify for these providers, it's typically a fairly easy sell. It's usually a 30 to 50% savings. But the trick was trying to get the opportunity, so the door-to-door was how I did it for years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no question. Finding people is by far the most difficult aspect of selling anything, really. Um, so, 30 to 50%. I mean, that's a far cry better than the 15% that they're always advertising on television. So
It
that's
is.
significant.
It is. The trick is trying to qualify for that kind of
Yeah.
type of a
So
carrier.
explain to the listeners what is a preferred carrier. What is that? So what do you look for as an agent?
Well, what maybe a lot of people don't realize is insurance isn't just like going and buying a gallon of milk. Typically, a gallon of milk is more or less the same price.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to have huge savings. And I think I've had a lot of people express to me over the years that they figured it was more or less the same way. It's not at all. There are three different types of providers out there. There's the substandard market, the standard market, and the preferred market. Sometimes companies will try to dabble in one or two different markets. Sometimes they'll specialize just in one specific market.
Mm-hmm.
The substandard market, for example, would be someone obviously who has a lot of tickets, accidents, high risk, that
Right.
type of thing. They're expensive to insure. Thus, the pool and the people in the pool are
It's
all kind
large.
of the same, birds of a feather, so to
Yeah.
speak. And so the premiums are substantially more.
Mm-hmm.
However, the largest market is the standard market. Really, this is going to be a lot of the carriers you see on television every 5 seconds and everywhere
Sure.
else.
Yep.
They kind of have a spot for everybody, the good, the
Mm-hmm.
bad, and the ugly.
Right.
Anybody can call them up and they have a rate. Um, Problem is with the standard market, since they're taking cream of the crop and they're also taking kind of a little bit more of the substandard market, if you think of 100 people placed into a pool and 50 of them are cream of the crop and 50 of them have issues and are high
Mm-hmm.
risk, the thing you have to remember is the 50 that are high risk are probably not paying enough into the pool to actually pay for themselves.
Right.
And so a lot of times that other 50 that are the cream of the crop end up subsidizing more or less um, the lifestyle of the more risky of the 50. A lot of times companies will play some games, rob Peter to pay Paul for a while and try to offer discounts and other things. But the fact of the matter is, at the end of the day, the only way an insurance company can be competitive is by being conservative and by being very picky about who they accept and having strict underwriting guidelines.
Right.
So that's the market we cater to, is preferred only. We have a place. We don't have a large place for the standard and substandard markets. But our bread and butter is catering to those who have no tickets or accidents, or very few, high credit, that type of a thing.
Okay. So that's really what you look for as an agent, correct? The preferred market. That's your thing.
That's what we specialize at Sorensen Insurance, is the preferred market. So yeah, we kind of have our eye on that. That's where we
Okay.
can help a lot of people.
So, what are some of the things that have changed in your industry in the last few years? Has anything major changed, or has it stayed pretty status quo?
There's been a very large change. And I'm just starting to wrap my mind around it after 11 years. My father's been in the business before me, 35 years plus. And when I first got in the business in 2002, he said to me, "Rob, right now we are in a soft market." I really didn't know what that meant. And I said, "Oh, that's great." And I got to work and started selling insurance. Well, now the market has changed. And what the difference is actually there's a multitude of reasons why a market goes from soft to hard, but some of them would include stock market, how the stock market is doing, how companies are making a return on their money, because typically a carrier does not charge enough premium to actually make money. A
Okay.
lot of times that they're making money off their investments and off the back door, so to speak, with things of that nature.
Right. It's a process where they can get money to invest,
Mm-hmm.
and they're not necessarily. In fact, some carriers are even losing quite a bit of money on the insurance side, but then they're making money in the investment side.
Yeah, they'll lose money in the insurance side. That's common, and then they'll make money in the investment side.
And that was something I didn't know. That's pretty fascinating.
But yeah, you have the investment. You have the investment portfolio there, but also in a soft market, insurance companies are all competitive. In the standard markets, you can go and buy a policy for relatively the same amount. It's like going and buying a gallon of milk, kind of. And I think that's where people start to get used to that concept of, go to AAA, go to Progressive, go to wherever you like. It's more or less going to cost the same.
Right.
And it was kind of that way for, well, probably a good 7 or 8 years after I got into the business. And then around 2008, there was a dramatic change all of a sudden. All of a sudden, I saw several carriers out there taking a 30 and even up to 50% increase. And at the time, there were just 1 or 2 taking that increase, and I think everyone just thought they were being ripped off. But what it actually was the starting of the bubble being burst.
Okay.
Insurance companies can only go so long being so competitive and then losing money out the back door through their investments before something has to happen. And so that's what happened about 2008 until now. Most people, I think, have experienced either their deductible being forced to being raised from $500 to $1,000, or they have seen their premium, especially on the home rates, go up from anywhere from 30 to 50% more than what they were paying in 2008 compared to now.
Wow.
Yeah. When people are shopping around a lot, we get calls all the time. People are thinking that they're being ripped off, and to tell you the honest truth, they're not necessarily. It's the market catching up with itself, and it's transitioned into a hard market.
Interesting.
Yeah. So we do get a lot of calls, and a couple of our carriers have taken anywhere from 2 to 10% increase, but thank heavens it hasn't been the market standard 30 to 50.
Right.
Yeah.
So all the rates are going up.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
Are people getting in more accidents, or is there more fraud? What's going on?
That's hard for me to say. In my own agency, we have experienced quite a few accidents the last couple of years. But industry-wide, I'm not sure if there's more. Nationwide on the home side, there's been handfuls of catastrophic loss with hurricanes and earthquakes and fires the last 10 years, primarily on the coastal states.
Right.
But if you're with a carrier that is represented nationwide, a lot of that cost is spread out, obviously.
Right.
Even in Utah, you're going to help pay for hurricanes and different things.
Sure. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's certainly something to be aware of.
Well, another thing is a lot of our carriers are more regional or even just local to Utah. So you look at the catastrophic home loss in Utah, it's relatively low compared to the nationwide catastrophic loss.
Oh, okay.
Also keeping rates low.
Yeah, well, we don't have a lot of catastrophes here.
No, not in comparison.
Yeah. So what are some of the basic things that consumers need to consider, I guess, when they're looking for home and auto insurance? I mean, what do they need to think about when they're looking for a carrier? I guess one thing would be probably to consider whether or not they're a preferred customer.
Well, Mike, actually, there's kind of a longer answer to that. And before we get going in that, I do want to take a little break, play a fiddle song.
All right.
Keep that.
Break it up.
Keep that question though.
Oh, I will.
Yeah, and let's visit that afterwards. I wanted to play your listeners some fiddle music. I started when I was about 3 years old, classically, and my whole family plays. We had at the time a pianist, a cello player, violinist, couple violinists, and one day the whole family, at a very young age, decided to switch over to bluegrass and fiddle. And so the fiddler, being myself, I got a mandolin. The cellist got a banjo. Piano player got a bass. And we all started taking bluegrass lessons and formed a family band.
Yeah.
Anyway, let me grab my fiddle here.
Yeah, that sounds good. You don't want people to get bored out of their minds with insurance talk,
Oh,
huh?
no.
Apparently. Well,
All right.
That's all I know how to do is bore people out of their minds.
This song here is a rag. And a lot of times, this type of song makes you want to kind of get up and dance. So, Mike, if you want to get up and do a jig.
I will get up and do a jig. Very nice. Very nice.
Well, I figure
That's
this is my saving grace.
that's a good way to break up the monotony of insurance, and it's probably a big part of what you do in your office, I guess. People come in, they're like, "This is so boring," and
No,
you're
we're
like,
just fiddling around all the
"You're
time.
just fiddling around."
All right, now back to that question. What was it again, Mike?
What do people need to consider when they start looking for insurance? I mean, who should they be calling? What should they be thinking about? And we kind of had already touched on it, but just kind of wrap it up in a nice little package for them. What do they need to be considering when they're looking for insurance?
Well, here's my opinion on it. You know, I was thinking about
Bring that up to your.
Oh, can you hear me?
Yeah,
Better? All right.
it's a directional mic, so.
I was thinking about this the other night, Mike's question about what folks should consider. And I came up with what we call the Sorensen Advantage plan, or the Agent Advantage plan. You know, if you think about it, we live in a world with increasing stress, fast-paced lifestyles, quick fixes, and to me, it's plain to see many folks yearning for times gone by. A time where maybe lifestyle was more simple, a time where people placed higher value in their trusted relationships, a time where a handshake actually meant your word. In fact, I think of the song that Gary LeVox sang. He's the lead singer for Rascal Flatts, and he sums it all up when he sings, "I Miss Mayberry."
Sure.
Sure. And so I've noticed even in my own industry of property and casualty insurance, I've heard so many people over the years complain about how they just want someone who they can talk to, or just someone who will take the time to understand and explain. And I guess I could say the good news is, despite all the 800 number insurance programs that are out there and the online websites that leave you to navigate by yourself, there is still hope out there, because the answer is the insurance agent. Now, finding the right agent is the quest out there. Finding the right agent is what will provide that good old-fashioned customer service that so many people miss. So the answer to your question is, I believe that people should slow down a little bit. Maybe not call the 800 numbers or the websites, because you could just call an agent for the same price and get the exact customer service you want and have them do the work for you.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I could give out tips and everything else, but rather than leaving you to yourself to try to figure out what you need insurance-wise, why don't you just give Sorensen Insurance a call? We have what we call the Sorensen Insurance Advantage Plan. And with our Advantage Plan, we not only provide personalized customer service, good old-fashioned customer service, someone actually on the other end of the telephone, but we believe in taking the service to the next level by offering a complete annual insurance review, tailored communication in any form, client education courses, and interactive emails with important current events, just to name a few. Also, experience with us client appreciation activities such as picnics in the park, client movie nights, daddy-daughter dance, which we'll be putting on here in a month or two over at the Zermont, fishing competitions, and much, much more. So that'd be my suggestion, Mike, to give Sorensen Insurance a call and let us try to simplify it for you.
Well, you know, and I understand that, but we gotta tell people something. So let's talk about bundling.
Okay.
Bundling is everywhere. I mean, everybody wants you to bundle, whether it's your television and your phone service, or your internet and your, you know, newspaper delivery. You know, they want you to bundle everything, and of course, insurance companies push the bundling heavily. Everybody wants you to bundle. So what's the reality of bundling? I mean,
Well,
you know, the concept is that if you buy you know, you buy your car insurance from us, if you have a second car, we're going to charge you a little bit less, and then if you add your home on there, we're going to charge you a little bit less, and so on and so forth. But you know, is the benefit really there?
You know, the benefit is really there. There's a couple reasons why the consumer should consider bundling and why the insurance company pushes that. As far as on the insurance company's side, they save money when you bundle. It's been proven the retention rate for them is much better if they have a client who's willing to commit to them with several policies versus just one. So their advantage there is their retention. Now, on a consumer's point of view, the advantage is a monetary one. They save money for sure.
But do they? I mean, like. So I mean, I've seen lots of examples of bundling, and more often than not, in what I've seen, a lot of companies will bundle products that are not very competitively priced with products that are, to give the appearance of saving money. And this is probably not across the board true. I mean, certain companies probably do a better job at this, but company A may have a really good auto rate but a lousy home rate, and they'll give you a discount on the home rate, but it's still not as cheap as if you bought company A's auto rate and company B's home rate.
That's true. There is the occasion, however, it is an occasion when that's the case, when you can actually find a rate between two carriers, and it financially makes more sense to go with two separate ones. Typically, insurance companies, for example, to bundle a home and auto account, that savings could be anywhere from 15 and all the way up to 30%, depending on the company. But one other reason to, even if financially it makes a little more sense to separate them, which again is not often, in my opinion, the reason why you should consider keeping them together is also the company loyalty to you as a consumer. It wouldn't be the first time I have seen a client get canceled from a large claim, say an auto claim, because they just have one auto and that's it. And there's definitely more company loyalty to that client if they can see that you're committed to them and you have bundled everything, even if there's a catastrophic accident that occurs with you. I've rarely seen a company ever drop somebody when their client's being loyal.
In my industry, and it's interesting that what you do and what I do are so incredibly different, even though they're under the umbrella of insurance. But like with life insurance, for example, and I think most of what you're talking about is combining your home and your auto. Yeah. But I've almost never seen a better deal bundling your life insurance. Because the companies that offer both home and auto and life insurance never have competitive life insurance rates. Yeah. And so they'll say, add your life insurance and we'll give you 5% off your home, your auto insurance. And it's like, well, but your life insurance rate is 150% more than what the independent companies are offering. And so you get a 5% discount for a 145% increase, and so I think you just have to be aware of which products are genuinely a better deal, and really shop around and look at that.
You bring up, just really quick, Mike. You bring up a really good point. We talked about the three different types of insurance markets,
right?
But now you bring up the point. How sometimes it doesn't pay off to bundle when you're crossing insurance, when you're crossing different lines of insurance, such as home and auto versus life versus health versus commercial insurance. There are some companies out there that will try to cater to everything, but almost everybody has a niche. And so if you bundle within their niche, you can save, but you have a point that a lot of times the bundled deal or even their rates aren't great when you go outside of that company's niche. It's always been my opinion that whether it's an insurance company or an insurance agency, you should always be aware of what their niche is,
right,
and try to utilize them primarily for that,
right,
and then look somewhere else for
what
your
their
life.
Expertise is,
right, and look somewhere else for your life insurance that has a niche in life insurance. That's where they focus on.
Yeah, and that was the point I was trying to get to. Now that brings up the next point is you have different kinds of insurance agencies, and they're split into independent insurance agencies and captive insurance agencies. And tell us a little bit about what is a captive agent versus an independent agent.
Well, the captive agent is someone who represents just one company, the company they're working for. Example could be State Farm.
Yeah, I don't want to get into.
Yeah, there's different examples.
Most of the ones that advertise on TV, aside from Progressive, are captive
The
agencies.
vast majority of them, yes, are captive, which means that if you call that number, you're going to get someone who works specifically for that company. And, some might say that the advantage to the captive side is they're obviously going to be able to quote faster. There's just the one quoting system, the one company, the one set of underwriting rules to be aware of. And a lot of times the captive agents will offer the whole gamut that we talked about. They'll offer everything.
Mm-hmm.
The independent agent is independent from the system. They're on their own, and they go out and they find companies to represent. And so a lot of times independent agents will have 4, 5, 6 different companies that they can shop around. I guess you could say, I'll give you the advantage and disadvantage. Of course, I'm not well versed since I'm an independent. It might be a little biased, a little bit, obviously.
Of course.
But the independent agent might take a little longer to do you a good job, to make sure they've shopped thoroughly, to look at the different options, the different bundling options that you talk about. So, a good independent agent it could be compared to not going to a fast food restaurant, going to a sit-down restaurant where you're going to wait a little bit. But you also have that comfort of knowing that they have you in mind and they're shopping for the best rate. Whereas the captive agent, like I said, can get you what you need quickly.
Yeah. It's been my experience. There, unfortunately, captive agents can get a little hamstrung at times by their company because they don't have any control over what that company does and what their focus is. Like you said, what their niche is, and so they'll be really competitive with auto rates for a little while, and they'll be able, and the agent will have a lot of success because their rate is really good, and so they'll be very competitive. And then out of nowhere, the company will decide, we're gonna raise rates there, and we're not gonna be competitive there for a while because we have enough people in that area of our company. And so through no fault of the agent, they're stuck. It's the only thing they can sell, and all of a sudden they're 50% more expensive than everybody else, and they don't have an option. They're just stuck with it, and of course they can't just not sell it to you. That's what they have. That's what they have to offer, and hopefully they're able to save that 15% over what you're getting elsewhere, but you're still missing out on the 50% savings.
Definitely could be a frustration, and in the independent agent side, we'll have companies from time to time have a large rate increase of sorts, and that is nice that we're able to shop it around and potentially take our client and switch them to a different company.
Yeah, you can just say, hey, sorry, this company's raising their rates, but this other one over here is good, so let's move you. Okay, so talk to us a little bit about you see advertisements for it all day, every day about getting your windshield replaced or getting rock chips repaired. Why should or shouldn't people use their insurance to do that? What's really happening when you show up at a place and you get your rock chip repaired for free?
Well, Mike, you bring up a very good question, because my industry does a horrible job at truly educating people on what the issue at hand is here. Frankly, because it's because the industry makes money off of anything they sell, even if it's rock chip coverage.
Of course.
And so they want to sell that. But the fact of the matter is that we all know nothing is for free. And so if you pull up to the Jiffy Lube or whatever, or wherever, and you see the rock chip man come up and he wants to repair your windshield free of charge with your insurance card, something's probably up. Now, I don't necessarily blame them. They probably don't understand exactly the inner workings of how claims work and everything else.
Right.
They typically will tell the client that it will not affect their insurance at all, nor their rates. The fact of the matter is that is kind of a half-truth. A windshield claim is a comprehensive claim, and while those claims don't particularly raise your rate, they are a claim. And what people don't realize is people are getting in trouble with frequency of claims. I'll have somebody who's turned in a windshield every year, and frankly, the insurance company doesn't raise too much of an eyebrow. But let's say on the third year after turning in rock chips and windshields, which they usually do. If you turn in rock chips, you usually turn in windshields. Let's say they actually have a collision claim they have to turn in. A catastrophic loss, a $30,000 head-on collision of some sort. At that point, upon the renewal, underwriting is going to take that policy and they're going to look at the claim's history. And if they just had the one large collision claim, it's very, very few times have I ever seen anyone be canceled because of that. But I see people canceled quite often because there's a collision claim and 6 other small windshield claims.
Right.
And the problem is, if you are that person that's been canceled, you usually have to go to that substandard market we were talking about, and your insurance premiums will double, if not triple. And you have to be there for at least 3 years squeaky clean, which is very difficult, especially if you have a large family.
Yeah.
So I always recommend paying for what you can afford. And
yeah, hand the guy $20 or $30 as the case may be, and get that rock chip repaired. Get a deal on Groupon or whatever for a free for a discounted windshield replacement. But
most people don't realize their windshield can actually be replaced at $150. But if you call the windshield people and get a quote, they're probably going to quote you $300 to $400.
Right.
Because that's actually the insurance pricing quote for it, not the out-of-pocket.
Interesting.
Yeah, and then they'll never tell you that. They'll make, of course, more money if you turn it in.
Right.
They want you to turn it in as well.
Of course.
But again, my dad taught me a valuable lesson years ago. He said, Rob, you'll always have the lowest rates possible if you treat your insurance for catastrophic occurrences. Don't use it for maintenance.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, that's wise words. All right, you have another song for us?
Yeah, I do. This
All right.
one's a slower one.
Okay.
One of my favorites.
Bust it out for us.
In fact, Kerry Hobbs, who's on the show as well, I think afternoons, he and I play this from time to time. It's called the Ashokan Farewell.
All right.
And it's a song I fell in love with, actually, when I was in 7th grade. We had the opportunity to watch the PBS Civil War series.
Sure.
And this is one of the main theme songs that's played throughout the whole series. It wasn't written for the series. Some people think it might have been, and it's not really one of those old-time songs. It's fairly contemporary. But that series made this song famous. And during the series, it highlights this song during one part where a soldier has been called to the front lines. Sullivan Ballou, I believe is his name. He was called to the front lines, and he knows he's not most likely not going to be coming home.
Mm-hmm.
So he writes a letter to his wife and children, expressing his love to them, and this is the song that's being played behind the letter.
Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Really want to thank Rob Sorensen from Sorensen Insurance for being on the show with us today. It's been enlightening and interesting and some beautiful music. So thank you so much for joining us. And it's you know, there's so much information out there that people need to be aware of, and unfortunately, sometimes it's hard to track that information down. You get a lot of misinformation, and it just muddies the water for things. And so, yeah, we really appreciate you coming on and helping us understand a little bit more about your industry and what are some of the things to be aware of and to pay attention to. This has been Mornings with Mike. We really appreciate you being on with us. Thank you for listening. Let us know how we're doing on Facebook. Go to Mornings with Mike on Facebook and let us know what you think. Give us your comments and concerns and questions, and let us know let us know how you feel about the show and how it's going for you. If there are different things you'd like to hear about, and we'll just keep plugging away and doing our best to have a fun, entertaining, and informational show. So thanks again for listening. And once again, this has been Mornings with Mike on KTMP 1340 Heber City.